We are so happy to have you here. The intention of CMA is to connect people. The tagline is connecting the dots. And what we're all about is figuring out how to connect people across industries, connect people to good ideas, and to really bring out products and services that are phenomenal for kids. And so we're thrilled to have new faces here. And part of what the Bay Area offers, it's really different than the other chapters in New York and LA, is we have a lot more of a focus on interactive media, ed tech, toy, connection, all of that. And so we really are excited this new chapter about helping to lead the national conversation also about the way that things are shifting and changing with technology. And it's not just media in a more traditional sense, but it really is. There's a lot more interactive media conversation. So we are thrilled to be here and to be learning from some of the best in the industry who clearly, as we can see on the tour, have touched so many things without us as consumers even realizing that it wasn't just coming from Intel or whatever. So it's exciting to hear about what you guys are doing. I do want to just do a little plug for membership. On your name tag, if it doesn't say member, that means you're not an active member. You're welcome anyway. However, we would love for you to become an active member. And we still do, in the Bay Area, have a very low membership rate because it's still very much a competition. So, just a little reminder and plug. We are going to have a couple of events coming up. The other thing that's really great about making sure that you have a membership active is then that you get notices about things. You can go into CMA and you can register to get notifications just about the Bay Area, or if you want to know about what's going on in LA and New York too, you can hear about all of those. Know that if you sign up for all those, you need to pay attention to where it is, because sometimes cool events are happening. They're like, oh shoot, it's not that. Okay, handing it off to Caitlin.
Hi. So I think thank you for having us, or for coming and visiting us. A lot of people here are familiar to me, and there are some new faces also, but we wanted to keep this part of the conversation really loose. You all met Charlie on the tour, and I think he gave a great background, so I'm glad that we actually started it that way, so you could have like a sort of a history and immersion in our space and what we're working on. But there are a couple other creativity folks here, in addition to our illustrious panel, who I will introduce in a second. There's a few others. Raise your hand if you work here at Creativity. There you go. A couple others. So after we're done just talking here, and this can go for as long as we want or as short as we want. There's some products you can interact with, ask us anything. We do respect our clients' confidentiality. We'll tell you what we can. But we really wanted to kind of just dig in for a second and talk about that typical development process and explore some of the projects that we built here that we really love. So I'm Caitlin Goodegunst. I'm formally introduced myself, and I head up marketing and some biz dev projects here. I moved out to the Bay Area 6.5 years ago to work at Leapfrog. So there's a couple of ex-Leapfrog people here too. A lot of my career has been in brand marketing and kids-focused products, and also interactive products. So I joined about 2 years ago, and I'm a newbie in that sense compared to everybody here. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Liu. I'm production director here. I've been with Creativity for 11 years. Started out as a gameplay designer, became a producer, and now production director. I lead a good majority of our projects here, make sure everything just runs smoothly for our clients between what we do here and making sure our clients have what they want on time and on budget.
I'm Josh. I think I've met most of you. I'm Vice President of Development here. Today is my 19th anniversary. So I'm an old timer here, and I started as a programmer and grew into a bunch of areas, helped start our game design department, and now I kind of oversee a lot of production, really focusing on the design and interaction, scripting, all that, and then how that passes into engineering to have a successful outcome in engineering.
And speaking of engineering, I'm Bob Harney. I'm the director of engineering here. And I started about a year after Josh did, back in 2002. So I don't want to say I'm an old time. So my job is to work with the various teams, mostly the engineering team, to help take other people's ideas and literally bring them to life, which is very important.
So you might have heard on the tour that we estimate we've worked on over 7,000 products. I thought just to kind of kick things off, we'd walk you through how we would develop a product here, and I'm going to choose an interactive pet. So let's say I'm a Hasbro or a Mattel or a Moose or someone like that. We work with different toy companies, and I have an idea for a dog that walks itself. How would I work with creativity to execute my vision?
What do you need help with?
That's right. Why are you asking?
So that I can know what you'd like us to do.
So the first thing is we're going to scope out the project really well and make sure that we understand what the client's needs are and what they're trying to execute, and build a quote with them. And then you guys run through it. It's handed off to them. Go for it.
So there's so many different types of projects, and there's so many different aspects of projects that we work on. So for this example, I'll assume that we're kind of handling it soup to nuts, which is everything that's going to go in the design, the engineering, the content. So usually we'll kick off, again, the vision of it. You know, what is the pet? And usually for our more advanced is not the right word I'm looking for, but experienced clients, they already have a lot of experience with saying, when they come to us, it's going to be a dog, it's going to have this many motors, and it's priced out, and so on and so forth. For other clients, we might have to help them with that, like, well, how many motors, and how, you know, what is your target cost, and what are the things we can afford, and it might use this chip or that chip. And we just try to get a rough idea of what it is going to be. And then if we're kind of doing everything, we have to figure out kind of our estimate for game design, which is having brainstorms, working with the client on what it's going to do, how it's all going to work, documenting all that in a rigorous way for engineering and so on. A lot of times the documentation will be designed to flow into engineering or into testing and things like that. An estimate of all of the content. So based on what you want, we think we're going to need 3 songs that last this long and 10 sound effects like this. We need to figure out what is the voice of it. So if it's a dog, is it a human pretending to be a dog, or do you want something really realistic? Is it more cartoony? Figure out how we're going to cast it, record it, how all of those processes come together into files. Do we need art, for like Furby eyes? Like, do we have to do that? How many of them? We have to kind of scope out all the pieces and parts. And then on the engineering side, we have to, with very little information, talk to these guys and get them to try to figure out what the engineering will be before we even really define what the project is. So it's a lot of times we'll actually start with a first estimate to help define what it is, and then a second estimate to help really quote execution. From that point, we assign someone to lead the project, maybe like Jessica here, and then we start getting quotes out, and when we're approved, we just start going through all those different phases and making all the assets and getting it over to
engineering.
Yeah.
Speaking of engineering, the first thing I asked for was a schematic. Because basically what we want to know is what's the technology? What technologies do we need to use for this? What technologies do we have experience with? What technologies do we need to develop? And so we work closely with the game designers and with the client to try to get an idea of what it is that they want to build. And because the first thing I'm going to be asked to do is, or the teams to ask to be put together a quote on what's it going to take to do the program, to put the programming together throughout the whole life phase of the project. And it's an interesting task, and so the more information you have on that, the better it is, and the easier it is, and the more accurate it is. So.
And one of the primary things we do in every single one of these projects you see is we have to understand limitations. So we are always designing to specific limitations. If we design without considering limitations, we will be in big trouble later. We will be over memory. We will ask it to do motor motions that are impossible. If we think too blue sky, when we're actually creating something, it's a recipe for all sorts of problems. So reining in the limitations is really helpful for us, not only in terms of quoting, but in making the best product we can. Because when we know what those limitations are, we can design to push all those boundaries, but we have to know where those boundaries are before you can push them. So a lot of our upfront work is to figure out what are the limits, what's the chips, what's the technology, how many channels of audio can we play. Well, we think it would be great to have a second channel. Can we change to this? That kind of back and forth. And then when we keep all that in mind, then the execution is much easier and smoother because we're just executing what we've already known we have to design.
To add to that, one of the specialties I think is that our designers are very technically minded, so they're always keeping in mind, well, we're anticipating what Bob's going to be asking us for. So our designers they'll know the technology that's out there, all the different limitations that we have. And then on the flip side, our technical people are also creative. So that's kind of one difference that we have here, especially in California, is that our software engineers, they do have that like game mindset, and they'll tweak things and make sure it's useful.
So, sorry, is it?
Yeah.
So, when clients come over, they're first, so do they always know their target audience, right? So because the some sort of idea, and whether it's that adults, a companion dog or companion cat, or maybe for age 3-4 year old. And then we do market sizing, or you guys do market sizing. What's the competitive analysis? How to make sure when you introduce this toy that's going to be successful in selling, right?
Yeah.
So we prepare all that, or we also help them do that.
Well, a lot of the times we're taking it from concept to factory readiness,
Yeah.
on physical products especially, so we're not manufacturing. We do support at the production level, but we're not responsible for manufacturing and distribution. Of course, we like more information about the vision of the product and what price points they're trying to hit and who their target audience is, because then we can design appropriately for those people. But in general, that's not our focus, that's our client's focus. The only exception to that is when we're launching some of our own products and also in the digital app space. We might have mentioned on the tour, but alongside creativity, there's an invention studio called Funfair, which is a sister studio and is powered by all the great work that creativity does, but focuses on patentable ideas. So we're constantly looking at market and trying to prove out that this idea has legs when we're selling that in, and then we license those to other people.
I will say that usually when clients come to us with projects, they do have in mind the target age that they're trying to go for, which is actually important to us because if we're scripting and we're designing content for the kids, we need to know what age target we're going for. Or, a little kid, they might not have motor skills to be able to do things, so we need to know that in advance as we're designing the toy.
We always ask. Sometimes we have clients who are like, oh, that's a good question. So we can help educate them, but in terms of marketing in particular, we generally don't get into actually marketing the physical products. That's really not an area of strength for us.
But then you work with multiple toy companies, and it's not a company. Yes, they just talk about the same things. What we do?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so we've been in business for 21 years, and they're working for biggest rivals in the industry.
Yes.
And the only way we can do that is absolute confidentiality,
Absolutely.
absolute compartmentalization.
Yeah.
And if we mess that up even once with any of our important clients, we're going to lose them. So we have to, it's very hard, but we are trained to go in really only keeping in mind their projects, and keeping everything out, we're priests in a confessional or something, but it's very serious.
Yeah, but they may ask you, say, hey, what do you think about this? And you know it, if you don't have this key feature, you may not be competitive because you produce it at the same time.
So again, we don't really get into the decisions about the sales worthiness. We just get into decisions about how do we make this an amazing product.
The best product you can be.
The best it can be.
I can comment on that.
Yeah.
One, if the customer asks a question that you just asked, I would point to things on the shelf to illustrate, but I would never ever say, hey, you can do this, be competitive, if I'm learning that from another customer on the product I'm working on. That's where we department. not allow anybody's IP or innovation drift over to the shelf and everybody's copying it.
Did you do kid testing?
Yes.
We do. We don't.
I was like, yeah, it's not a huge area of focus for us, but we do qualitative testing here a lot. I say it's not a huge area of focus because we're not conducting like scientific research in like the way that Kid Lab would in eFrog, but we are very process oriented. We know how to conduct studies and best practices with that, and we have a great list of people that we can bring in from local communities who participate in those kid tests and work on products.
And the lens of our testing is usually the 20 years of experience of what makes a great product and great kid interactions. So watching kids interact and the intuition, the experience that lets you understand they're getting stuck here, they enjoy this, they don't enjoy this. It's not so quantitative. It's more really based on experience.
Well, the other contribution that our community do that is one of the hard things about kid testing is sourcing kids. It's a hassle. It's a lot of administration. We've been casting for 20 years. So you sort of have this infrastructure of someone who knows how to get you to sign releases, files all that. So we use that resource of casting. The other thing we do is we capture voices to create voice recognition banks for chips that have built-in embedded voice recognition, which is very limited, and kids' voices are hard to do voice recognition with, so the approach is to actually record a data set of that 20 words to totally recognize, and we bring 100 kids to say those 20 words 15 times. And there's a process there. It's like whenever they call and say, hey, we want to be quoted in the voice thing, we're like, oh, we're going to parade 100 families and the kids are playing the toys on the wall. So I'm just referring to a practical aspect of it that empowers us to do kid testing, which is just that we have the infrastructure to literally get a family in at 3, and another family in at 4, another family in at 5, and ask the questions. Watch them play. So I would call it informal kid testing. It's not statistically this or that, but it's incredibly valuable. And including companies that have kid testing will do it with us because they kind of have more profile. It costs less from their point of view. They've got a teacher, lawyer, policeman.
Yeah, and then they don't have people saying how the kid testing went, right? If they ever feel like something's risky, we're a safe space for it.
It's good for, especially for early R&D, for what works with kids, rather than this is how to market it. We don't do that so much. We do they get the interface? Do they get stuck? Do they have fun? Do they like it?
So, since you mentioned voice and very interesting voice, so for all these children's voice, and my understanding in some of the industry application, that they tend to be adults speaking in kids' tone, or in your case, it's just really recording children's voice?
Now you're talking about casting for kids' voices.
Yeah.
We do both. Yeah, there are. One of the tools I put up that had the Rugrat signatures. That was all women between the age of 20 and 30.
Okay. Yeah.
They were amazing. I was mentioning when I went tour that there's 2 actresses that I know, one in Southern California and one in New England, who could do a baby, you swear at the baby. But I only know 2 in the country.
So I think that with the technology improvement now, it's much easier because like a company I understand, we have to use a very small data point to be able to train the voice, synthetic voice. But I have worked with an automotive company. They said, oh, and in the past, they did the last year, they literally bring a 6-year-old and ask the kids to read like 30 minutes about certain thing, and in the end, after 8 minutes, the kids are too tired to act. You know, so basically in that case, in this industry size, it's more common to have the adults to do independent,
Art citizen is a woman.
Yes, yes.
So there are a lot of actors and actresses that can do that. There's a lot of cases where working with kids really provides those sort of work. Because our job is to make a one-off product, might not have a lot of content, that is magically engaging, either hilarious or adorable, and you don't get that with certain stuff as speech. And sometimes it's hard to do that with it. And when I find that actress or actor, I'm a treasure.
Yes, I was talking about 4 years ago. I was working with this mobile company. He said, "Okay, we have to try some corner cases." I said, "What's a corner case?" It's shooting stories. That's a corner case. So, yeah. But the other thing, this question is, I don't want to know all the questions. One more question. And so today, in your voice application, you said that all the prompts are those pretty much known or pre-recorded, or is it something that it's you're coming towards more conversational, random text, things like that?
I'm not sure.
I think
Yeah, I think we have it here. Go for it.
so we do both. So
What's the question?
it's in the voice stuff, are voice prompts essentially human recordings or are they computerized, right?
Okay.
So
And then also for computerized, so
yeah,
is it free text or is it always static, always fix the prompts?
so we do both.
Okay.
Stranger Things that we did is the kids from the TV show. We recorded it. And all the branching and stuff, we have recordings for every branch and we piece them together programmatically, however we need. So it's kind of both. There are, no, not that one. There are, Alexa Mill Braille is Alexa's voice. And so it really depends on the clients, what they want. Is it really important that it's a human voice? In some cases, Alexa gives it a different character that they want, and then there's budget. And there's also the fact that with a TTS voice, you can make updates quickly. You don't have to bring someone back into the studio, and it's a lot cheaper.
Yes.
So, yes.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If you,
That's right.
I was wondering if you might tell a story about a client coming to you and thinking like, oh gosh, like how are we ever going to pull this off? Like how is this going to happen? Either there's not enough budget or it's something we've never done before, or just some story and like how that then turned out and came to be, like what a story of like fear of failure and how you could have dealt with it.
This happens quite often.
It does. I mean, clients come to us generally, a lot of the more complex projects are because they're ones that they can't do. And so there's something groundbreaking or very difficult about them. I mean, I don't know how much I can talk about behind the scenes stuff on a particular client project. But I can think of one, that was really groundbreaking because it involved Bluetooth connectivity, it involved downloadable content from a toy to a product, it involved advanced motors and animations, and it was just a massive, massive project. You probably know which one.
Yeah, you can say the name of the project.
So this was the newest Furby Connect, which, every week you go, there's a new video up in the app, and it's actually streaming content data to the product for updates and a lot of currency. And the complexity of that for us was a pretty big leap over anything, and for anyone. I mean, we've had at least two of the biggest toy companies in the world, and probably the third one, where we have been told that we know for a fact that we have worked on the most complex projects they've ever done, where they were terrified, like they had no idea. Another one I'm thinking about, this dinosaur over there with many servos and kind of self-balancing. Or the new Hasbro self-balancing one-wheeled robot from the new movie. And in those cases, because they're so novel, there's always unexpected stuff. And the way we deal with that is we go above and beyond. So for those two in particular, we had engineers flying to China, working at the factory, trying to meet their schedules. Not because we did anything. I mean, we were the save the day people, but because inevitably with novel hardware, there are going to be issues late in the stage. Right? Chris knows about that. So in general, we're really, really good at seeing the problems come far down the road and adjusting. I read one project management book that talked about managing projects like landing an airplane. And if you say, oh, I'm past the runway, you're in big trouble, you have to see it. And so that's kind of what we're always trying to do.
Well, we've had a
Raise
share
red
of
flags.
emergency landings.
Yeah.
And we're really, really quick at the throttle.
Tell a story, come on.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a real story for
Yeah.
that, but it's really because I think we have so many years of experience, and we have worked on so many different types, from everything from push a button and play a sound to a self-balancing robot, or to some like Blue with many electromechanical servos inside of it and sensors. And every single thing was, for the most part, was something that we had never done before. But based on our experience and our track record, we've always had the ability to come in and say, yes, we think we can do that. We've always explained the risks to the client at the very beginning to say, this is very key because you don't want to, you need to manage their expectations. And at the same time, you need to deliver the absolutely the best, the hottest product on the budget.
Yeah, and I'll just add, because we've done so many things, we're really good at identifying the things that we haven't done before and where the risks are. There are a lot of products that come in, it's like, no problem. Nope, another product, you squeeze the hand, it lights up and things. We know exactly what that's going to take, we know exactly the risks. We get even to a case, and we know this a lot, where one of the chip companies comes out with a new chip, and the toy company is working on a new chip, and we're like, okay, you very likely are going to have issues in production because this chip hasn't been tested. It has nothing to do with us, but we know that from experience. And then there are the ones that's like, we have never done this before. We don't know what this is going to take, and we just communicate. So the communication is critical. I don't think
That's actually really I was just on a tour with somebody and I forgot what I was saying, now I remember. It's relevant to this discussion, so your mystery and suspense will be in over. Which was that I started that prefacing, our business boomed in the first few years, and then it slowed down. It became more of a struggle, and I did a lot of soul searching as to why that was. And what I realized was that we had done some innovative, clever things that were pretty basic and simple, but they were innovative. In audio, in the early days, tricks that we did make chips do, and that made us special. And people were willing to pay for that, and we were having a great time. It becomes a commodity after a while. People kind of reverse engineer, oh, you're using MIDI, and you're using this chip, and you're doing this, and I hired someone, and they're smart, and they figured out how to do it. Why are you charging me so much? So what I realized was that being really good at what we do, or having this expertise is valuable, but the most invaluable thing that you can do is innovate. And you can never stop. We're supposed to innovate at the same time, which if anybody knows about innovation, it's chaotic and risky. So, really freaking hard. And to combine all that, and that is who we are. That is what creativity is truly about, and it's very, very difficult. But we're better than most. Still really hard, we still miss sometimes. But we have enough trust with our clients that they kind of understand. I mean, Josh has emphasized several times, we try really hard to advise them of the risks and remind them that this is an unknown, that this might not happen, that we can't promise this. 90% of what we do we can guarantee confidently that it will be done, within that budget. Maybe sometimes it took us longer than we making too much profit, but it averages out. But sometimes it may never work good enough, or it won't work at all. But you have to try, you have to innovate. And most of our business models is kind of, we bid, we do it as a work for hire. It's really painful for everybody to ask for more money, and we just have to figure out how to do that.
What is the most expensive toy in the world?
Expensive as the price of the toy, or?
That dinosaur was pretty.
Yeah,
That was a couple $100.
$250.
Good job.
It's over there, blue. From Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Well, that football thing was probably,
Oh, that was.
That was a couple
that was like $400, wasn't it? That was
No,
long.
it was a couple hundred.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a dog out front that Andy worked on that was,
Exciting.
yeah, I said
It's
he was.
$200.
Was that
Yeah.
The ride on pony.
Right on pony.
Oh, right on. If it's good, we worked on it.
I remember seeing it in the showroom,
Which
for
one?
Hasbro, but
Right on pony.
the Ryman.
Oh, that's
that's
specific site.
Oh, I was thinking of, if it's a normal one.
Oh, you're thinking of
Butterscotch.
butterscotch.
Oh, yeah.
That was one
So it sounds like you have worked on like a wide variety of projects. So we'd love to hear, like personally, what projects have gotten you the most excited? And it could be like a specific genre of project or like complexity of project. Just curious what your preferences have been. What gets you excited? Up first.
Anything that works. Well, you know, it's hard to say because some toys there's different rewards for different toys. There's a reward you get when a very simple toy that becomes a toy of the year and people are lining up outside of department stores in early hours to buy them. And they're not necessarily the most complex thing or the most, difficult thing that you've worked on. And there are some things that sometimes are a little more simpler that have their own rewards, such as the Aflac duck and the cat, the companion cat. Those are very, very rewarding to work on because, especially when you see how the media, well, not just the media, but how it's covered and how it's appreciated by the intended audience. It can be, it just makes you just feel incredibly proud. And that's a reward. And then there's the money.
So I was thinking about this because Caitlin was going to ask us the same question. And to Bob's point, there are certain ones that get a lot of press and excitement that's always really cool. So you say, hey, I worked on that, I worked on Furby, right? That type of thing. There are other ones, I've been doing this a long time, and so this is rarer now, where it's a license that I haven't worked on before that's super exciting. Like the first time I worked on Star Wars, that was awesome. When I got to know the plot of Revenge of the Sith before it was out in the theaters, like, whoa, I had to promise my firstborn child, but still. More recently, like Stranger Things, like that one, it's like, oh, cool, we're recording the kids from, like, those are cool. But the ones that really stick with me, like Caitlin was asking, like, think about, your favorite, and there were kind of three memories over my time that really have always stuck with me. And they're all about touching people's lives. And it's the Barney, yeah, she remembers the story. So when I was first, like the first year I was programmed, probably the first months, the first toys I worked on was Barney. And I was working on this toy, and this was with someone at Fisher-Price, I can't remember who it was. And I think I made some snide comment about, I love you, And they laughed about it and said, yeah, there are a lot of kids out there that, him saying that is the only time they're going to hear that all day. Right? Yeah. And that just still affects me. And it makes me think about all these things that kind of seem like dumb, whatever, like they really affect children. And so that was a beautiful moment for me. The second one that always comes to mind is we worked on this amazing dance game where instead of traditional dance mats that you have to step on, it used IR and looked at your feet. And we got this review on Amazon of this woman who said, I have MS and I have never been able to dance, but I can play this game and I've enjoyed dancing for the first time in my life.
Oh,
right? So that was the second one that sticks with me. And then the most recent is the cat, where reading reviews about how I have not been able to connect with my Alzheimer's mother for years, and we could connect with this cat. So those are the ones that really, really touch me.
I'll say I have two favorite projects that I've worked on. One of them was Hashimoto's. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. So I picked that one because I worked on the first generation, the design of it. I led the project, led our whole engineering team, designed all the gameplay for it, went through all the audio everything soup to nuts. And then did that for 4 years, through all the generations. So that one I'm on my top list. The other one is the Ride on Pony, and I choose that one because most of the toys that we work on, they fit on your desk. This one, we took it around, rode it outside. We had kids come in riding it around outside. It's just a very unique product for us, and that one was really interesting.
I've been here 2 years, and when I came in, one of my areas of focus was around the voice business unit, which had started, and I was going to connect Charlie's comment about innovation, and one of my biggest tasks was to explain to potential clients why a toy company is making voice apps like Stranger Things. And a lot of people, we looked at the audio and we said, yeah, we're innovating, we're audio driven. This is just like, if you approach it with our lens of the fact that this is an audio driven experience that has to be intuitive and doesn't have a screen, and we've worked with non-literate children for a long time to help make these magical projects, then they kind of start to get it. But beyond that, it is about innovation. And we think user first with everything that we're doing, and interaction design. And voice has emerged to be this powerful interface for how people are connecting with technology, just like touch was for screens. And so the fact that kids can now use one of their most human elements to command a technology platform that gives back to them, or they were doing it with toys for a while before them, is really magical, and is going to impact the way that they act as consumers moving forward. So we already had the voice business started with Google, and they invited us about 3 or 4 years ago to help build out their kids' library. So we were pretty early adopters in the space. I'd say like the Google Alexa business has been around for maximum 5 years, so we're very early in the space. And one of the first projects that I was working on was our Disney music skill. So that continues to be one of my favorite. Not only am I a total Disney nerd, they've been my client a long time when I was at Leapfrog and before then, but it was one of the first use cases, certainly that we worked on, where it wasn't just a campaign driver. I'm a marketer, sorry, I'm going to talk from that lens. Where it really enabled the company to have a different type of connection with their consumer and to help them kind of navigate through their library in a different way. So if you're unfamiliar with this skill, you open it, a celebrity host greets you. We had Mina Massoud from Aladdin join, and JD, who's the voice of Simba. And then he walks you through a trivia game. You hear clips of the song. You like unscramble words and name the character and play a couple rounds. And as you go, when you win the game, each round you get a fun fact and you learn more about Disney. It sort of deepens your relationship to their whole brand, right? And then at the end of it, it asks you if you want to open a playlist. And so the music team gets to have more streaming revenue, and you get to engage even deeper with their library. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be powerful. And that was like an aha moment for me for why voice is going to be a great interface. And it's kind of driven me to evangelize that technology. Now there's just so many great things that are coming for that. We're early adopters for gadgets, which are Bluetooth connected devices that are powered by Alexa or working with Alexa. So being able for young children to be able to press a button and start to interact with that AR sound around them. It's really exciting. And it's opened up a lot of clients for us. Like all these projects have brought in clients that we probably wouldn't have engaged with otherwise. So mine was very market driven. Also our website, relaunching the website. That was fun. Sorry, I'm going to change time here. 7:40. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
Kind of Josh, before we left for tour, we're talking a little bit about innovation and amazing, kind of piggybacking on your point, the wonderful new technologies that are coming out. But are there certain aspects of toys that you are nostalgic for, and certain things that you hope will never change?
I can answer it. As part of our Google experience, we've gone down there as consultants to them. I got to speak to a bunch of people about design for kids and stuff. And I told them, I always kind of think it's funny that like I was really didn't like the idea of them having screens on their Google Homes because we don't need another app. And I think the beauty of voice is that it's imagination and that it's, you know, something where the kids can get back to that creative thing that a lot of these phones, I think, have taken. So that's part of the reason I love physical products so much. I'm, no offense to anyone, but I personally wouldn't want to just be developing apps because I think that there's something about the physical that we are losing in our society, and I really think that's tricky. There's a great book about play that cites a study, I think GE did or something. I think it was GE, some major company that was realizing that all their up-and-coming young engineering talent was not succeeding. And they did this whole study. Their resumes were super impressive, but they weren't succeeding. And what they learned from the study was that the engineers that were succeeding were the ones who played with things with their hands when they were children.
Took all apart.
Played with Legos, built. The engineers who just were computers and just all that path didn't have the creative thinking. And this is so connected to so much here. So for me, that's like key, personally.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, exactly. Great.
In super on play.
Yeah, and
There was a great report that Lego released in 2018 called the Play Well report. I think the Toy Association has been really focused on this with the importance of play. And the Lego report is free. You should definitely get it. And what they started to look at were these different types of mediums. So much when we're talking to brands or people who are producing products, they're like, oh, why do I need to be in that channel? Or why do I need an app connected to it? And they think of these things as silos because that's how they're organized, or that's how they as adults think they know. And what it talked about was the fact that kids really don't care about what the medium is, they just want to play. And so I think being true to like the very natural play patterns that we have, like storytelling, and ways that you can enable different type of storytelling for kids with this new technologies, or different ways to interact with each other and drive social engagements. Like, I think those are the things that are really exciting for me about future technologies. Like when you think of AR, like how's a kid going to play with that? And do they care that you had to do all these X, Y, and Z in order to bring it to life? Like probably not. Like there's magic in the interactions that stand out from our childhood, and that's what hopefully we can enable in the future. Okay.
Well, I have a last question because I was a design engineer before. What kind of software do you use for design?
do you mean like design as in?
Prototyping, discoveries.
So there's a lot of different pieces of software. So on the interaction design, we use standard tools like Visio and Excel and Word. We do a lot in Excel because we then generate data from it. On the programming side, you're talking about what software we use on the
No,
program?
I'm more thinking about you use AutoCAD or.
Oh, right. I know. Well, we did it a lot more. I think SketchUp.
SketchUp is one of the key things that
Oh,
we
totally, of course.
Yeah. We use a lot of SketchUp. We then like load it into the 3D printers and we'll like iterate on our designs and then like go into like the shop and do all the electronics. And a lot of the times we'll use chips that we're going to be using in like toys. So we won't necessarily program on like Arduinos, which is like normally easy to program on. We'll actually go with the chips that will be in these toys so that when we show these like inventions to clients, they're already ready. And we're like, yeah, the chip is already in there.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, this one. So the voice recognition and that field is really fascinating to me. On a personal level, I have had zero experience with it because my husband is so concerned with privacy issues like at home. And so I have a little one, and I'm trying to like tackle this dilemma of like how much should I be concerned about the privacy piece when you're having a kid, interacting with Alexa with a product like that? And I wonder if those questions do pop up when you're working on products like that too.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think that's a personal choice, and I totally respect how parents want to interact with that. Baseline is that unlike mobile, Amazon and Google are taking responsibility for those privacy controls because a lot of the processing happens in the cloud. Of course, you can enable different type of interactions, but most of what we've built, we don't get any information. So that's kind of our approach is just to...
You as the developer don't
Yes.
get any information,
Yes.
or how about Google as the distributor of the
Well,
product?
again, they're taking on the COPPA liabilities.
I mean, I think we're living in a time where we all have to make this decision.
Right.
I am someone, just my personal thing is, I don't find my data that interesting, and the benefits I get from all the free software and everything for me way outweigh any concerns that they know when I go to Safeway. I mean, personally, that's my, I don't really care. But I do know from working closely with Google and Amazon, I do believe that generally, they don't care about any one person's data at all. They are looking at patterns. And so I'm an ant in a pattern, and I don't really care. I mean, I'm all in. I use Google Photos. All my family photos are up there with face recognition. And I'm highly confident working with them that there aren't people like looking at my pictures. Now that said, we all heard stories where things break down in contractors and things like that, and that's a risk I'm aware of and I choose to take. We all have to make that decision. Now, for kids stuff, you know, in general, part of the way they handle it is you have to go in as a parent and you have to say, I approve of this, right? So it's going to be your decision. The connected, you know, I'm a parent, my 2 kids are now older, but the decisions about phones and what they can do, it's a really difficult decision, and I empathize. But there isn't an answer. I think it's your answer.
I'm glad you said phones because phones are scarier than any of us.
I agree. Phones are way scarier.
Facebook? Delete Facebook if you care. Just kidding. They're great. No, but honestly, like there's more stuff that can go wrong in your phone and SDKs loaded that you don't even know about than probably what's going on in these devices.
And don't think your phone's not listening to you right now.
Going to the mall, facial recognition. New Toys R Us. Just kidding. Did you see Jordan's TED speech about giving kids access to technology?
I'm not sure I saw that.
Okay, there's a writer.
Yeah.
There's a writer Shapiro, right?
Oh, Jordan,
Yeah.
He's a big technologist.
Yeah.
For Forbes, Forbes.
And he gave this great talk about him as a father, and the basic takeaway was that if you're blocking kids from using technology, you're like trying to keep them in the Stone Age, and like stuff's gonna go without them. And he was like, I just play with my kids. Like, okay, so they're playing video games and I don't understand it. Well, that's a moment for me to go into their world and have them invite me in and to say like, okay, I'm gonna see what Fortnite's about, instead of just being like, Fortnite's bad, you know, and being scaremonger.
Yeah, and having done this, tried to do this with 2 kids, and I haven't had success yet. I think our challenge as parents is really teaching them to self-moderate. Because if we, you know, it's all the classic forbidden fruit, right? So I think the best we can do is explain to them and teach them to control the addictive nature of it as best we can.
He is a voice among many who are against, you know, video games and screens for kids. And he is very pro. But I will also point out from reading him a lot, he has 2 boys, and he never mentions his wife. So I asked myself, what's going on there?
We talked about his divorce in the thing.
Oh, that might be
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.